Okay, so again, thank you for joining our ISM Rochester March membership meeting. And at this time, I would like to turn our program over to our president, Leanna Perricelli.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're so excited that you guys are all able to join the membership meeting tonight. I can't believe it's March. I feel like this year is just flying by. It's crazy. Tonight, our speaker is Lou Perricelli, and the topic he'll be presenting on is supplier payment strategies. So we're so excited to have you with us, Lou. But really quick before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that we are having an in-person event later this month. It's going to be on March 30th at 5:30 p.m. at Radio Social. And this event is a networking event, so it's free. So please come, and there's going to be food and drinks and bowling and a lot of conversations and just a good time. So please join us there. So now I'm going to be turning it over to you, Lou. Take it away.
Great. Thank you, Leanna. So good evening to everyone. Early evening, and I'm not going to keep you. I told the group before that was on the phone, you'll be eating dinner very soon. So I won't hold you up much, but I want to make this interactive. I want us to, I'll share a little bit about me, and start off with where I came from and this particular topic that I'll be sharing with you tonight. And then we'll get into some, like I said, a little polling and a few slides, not a lot of slides. And again, I want to make it interactive. So as far as a little bit about me, I've been with my company's Corteva Agrisciences, and it was a company that formed out of a merger between Dow and DuPont. So I really came from the DuPont side of the house back in March 17th, 1986. So this Friday will be 37 years with the company. I've had a variety of roles with the company over the years. Procurement for a large portion of that time. Buying roles, leadership roles, project roles, and then this particular topic I'll be talking about is trying to figure out how we could pay our suppliers differently, and if we were able to pay them differently, what benefits would that have for the company? So it was something that I took upon myself, worked with our card provider and then our leadership. And I'll get into the nuts and bolts of that in a minute. But before I do that, and I know we got a relatively small poll, but Kathy, can you launch some of the questions? I think I laid them out in kind of a logical order. So yeah, the first question that Kathy's put on the screen here is, what part of the organization are you a part of? So I'm just trying to figure out again, I know we got a smaller group, but what part of the organization are you from? So if you don't mind sharing that, I'll see if I can pull up the chat and see the responses. And I'm going to take myself off video for a minute so I can not drive myself crazy looking around. All right, so it looks like your operations, purchasing, compliance. I've got one here looking for employment, and I wish you the best. So yeah, I appreciate that. So what I'm I guess where my, even though it's bigger than just the procurement organization, what I was trying to do when I started this project is again, the financial benefits from doing things a little bit differently than we've done in the past. And so Kathy, I can't remember if I teed up another secondary question for you before I get into the few charts I have. Yeah, so this kind of was the next one. So are you familiar with payment strategies your company utilizes? So do you know how your company pays your suppliers? Is it check, ACH, something different? If you guys can answer that, that'd be great. Just trying to get a feel for what that looks like. I don't know if we've got the results of that yet. Looks like Lonnie's answered yes on the chat. I don't know if anyone does the poll, but anyway, for those of you that didn't respond, thank you. So really what we're trying to do is, if you don't know what your companies do, I'll still say here, everybody 100%. So no surprise. Very good. So we got a full response. People know how your companies are paying their suppliers. So we traditionally, obviously always paid our suppliers with a check or an ACH payment. Obviously, if you had a travel card or a procurement card, you're using that to pay for some of your suppliers. You're paying that for your travel, most likely. But what we were looking for savings opportunities, and each and every year, at least in my company, and probably the same as yours, we're always under the pressure to deliver savings, deliver working capital savings, normally via term extensions. So how do we move the needle in that regard and thinking outside the box? So I met with our card provider happens to be Citi. And we sat down with Citi and we talked about, what we were trying to accomplish. And they brought to the table several, I'll call it card products that we could take advantage of if we were interested. And so I'll get into the few charts here, maybe to kind of now share what that's about. So I'll probably share my screen. Give me a second. Could you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I'm not going to go over all these slides, but basically what happens is the way this whole thing started is what Citi will do, and I'm sure most of your card providers, if it's not Citi, will do something similar. But what they did was they took they asked for a spend file. So a fairly detailed spend file of everything, all the suppliers, how we paid them. So we worked with our accounts payable department, we pulled a spend file, we provide it to Citi. And then what Citi does is they do an analysis of the spend, and they'll come back with, where they think their card products fit, and the type of strategies based on the tier of the spend normally is based on. And then they'll also look at, say, your suppliers, and they'll say, we know these suppliers already accept payment by a credit card. We also know some of these are doing this with other clients. So those become like that low-hanging fruit. We know they accept cards. We know they're already doing it with other clients. So why couldn't they do it with our company? So what we then did is embark on a IT project, because we had to set up the system in order to make this happen. So if someone said, yes, they want to get paid this way, we have to change their vendor master. We have to send file feeds back and forth to Citi. So there was a little bit of IT work involved with Citi's folks and our IT folks working on that. Took, several months to kind of develop that. And then once that's done and we're ready to go live, after we did a little, a couple test transactions to make sure it worked, then what Citi did, and again, most other card providers offer similar services, they have an enablement team, and they'll actually contact. So, well, first of all, we let our organization know that we're doing this. We're going to be reaching out to your suppliers. Citi will be doing it on our behalf, in effort to see if they'd be interested in getting paid via credit card. And so, once that we do the work on our side of the house, Citi will then go back in and they'll start that outreach effort. And the way that they get the suppliers to join the program, for the most part, is to say, listen, are you willing to get paid by your credit card? Corteva would like you to entertain that. And then if you do so, we could pay you 15 days earlier than we're paying you today via check or ACH. So you dangle a little carrot in front of them. So you lose. Remember before I said, one of our efforts is working capital. So in this case, we'd be losing a few days of working capital. But in reality, we're actually gaining some working capital, because what happens is if the supplier says, yes, we changed their vendor master, they were getting paid at 30 days before, now they're getting paid at 15. What we do is we could take advantage of the Citi float. So by the time that transaction hits a statement, by the time we eventually want to pay in Citi, we get more than the terms that they originally had anyway. So we get some working capital benefit, plus the spend that runs through that process counts towards our annual rebate. So we launched this project back in July 2020. And as you all know, that was right around the start of COVID, or smack in the middle of COVID. And so really, there was not a lot of travel related spend going on. So normally we would not have qualified for a rebate, but because of this program, and because the spend we were bringing in by just paying suppliers differently, it enabled us to continue to get rebates even when there was no travel going on, none of that travel spend contributing towards a rebate for that year. So for the last couple of years, even as travel's, now gotten back to what we'll call a new normal, over the last 2020, 2021, even early part of last year, where it's just started to come back, the virtual card and the payments that we're making that way was certainly helping us reach our financial goals. So it wound up being very beneficial. Again, just flipping through a couple of slides here, I'm not going to go into some of the how do you entice the suppliers. I just talked about the main one that we did was payment acceleration. You could offer suppliers that you'll be considered preferred supplier and things of that nature. We tried to, we focused simply on we'll pay you a little bit earlier if you accept the card. What is a virtual card? So a little bit about a virtual card. I'll just read these real quick. A virtual card, or VCA, is a way to securely and efficiently pay suppliers. It utilizes a non-plastic 16-digit credit card number, and it's processed exactly like a physical credit card. So many of your companies today, like our company, accepts payment via credit card. So what we were doing was just asking our suppliers. Again, they also accept payment via credit cards for the most part, to allow us to pay them that way. So in the VC option, we could offer to any supplier, again, who's able to process card payments. A VCA allows a supplier to accelerate the cash flow, receive their approved invoices faster. So we talked about giving them that extra 15 days or whatever it is in advance, so that they can get paid a little bit earlier by joining. The VCA solution replaces existing payment methods, so you're not doing paper checks and other account payable processes. So there's a little bit of efficiencies to be had. And again, we encourage those early payment accelerators, 15 days or 30 days, whatever made sense depending on the payment terms you currently have with your supplier. Again, a little bit more on how it works. Once an invoice is approved, the payment instruction file is sent to Citi with all the approved invoices to process. Citi will in turn send the supplier an encrypted email, and it contains all the virtual credit card information, how long the credit card is valid for, the code, the security code, and the due date. The email will also contain information on the invoices that relates to that purchase and the payment, so they can apply it properly. The supplier will process the virtual card number through their existing point of sale device. Again, the same way they would do other card non-present transactions. As most credit card transactions, they will receive their funds usually within a day or two. The virtual card is valid. It differs from a general credit card in the following ways. It's a single-use card. It can only be used for the exact amount of the payment, no more or no less. It's valid for 30 days from the day the supplier receives the email. I will add to that you do have the ability to log into the system and extend that if for some reason the person that was normally cashes these or processes these credit cards is out on leave. There's some hiccup in the organization and it goes beyond 30 days. You can always extend that. You could go into the system and we can do that on our side of the house. We can go in and extend that validity period so that they still have time to process that transaction. And then the credit card processor, they will charge for their services. So each of our organizations, the suppliers, there's a merchant fee that's charged on top of this. So that's why we also offer that accelerated payment, 15 days or 30 days, so that this way it kind of offsets or takes a sting out of that merchant fee that they would have to pay. And a lot of these folks, again, especially during COVID, when people weren't in the office to receive processed checks, or if people weren't sending ACHs, it was a great way for them to get that encrypted email and be able to get it processed through their processor. Another chart here just to show how it works. So top gray area there is you pay your supplier in 30 days. 30 days you turn around and pay your supplier. How about with a virtual card? So on day 30, you're supposed to pay the supplier, but because of the virtual card, you take advantage of Citi's float. It winds up being more like a 70-day working capital benefit, but the supplier still gets paid on 30. That's if you don't do any early acceleration. Now, if you agree to give the supplier, and to entice them, to give them some earlier incentive to join, reducing that by 15 days. So in this scenario on the bottom, you're actually paying them on day 15, but you still get that working capital float of having to then turn around and pay city on day 55. So you went from the original example of 30 days to that final example of 55 days. You've got 25 days of working capital improvement, and you've taken that spend that you paid and it counts towards your rebate. So again, we've I think that might have been the end. This is a letter we send out. So we had a letter drafted, that went out to our suppliers, told them that city will be reaching out to them. It's not a spam or anything like that. If you have any questions, reach out to either myself or the buyer of record that you work with normally, and they'll answer any questions you have. But this has been, like I said, this July will be 3 years since we launched the program. It's been successful. I'm going to say, last time I looked, it was like about $50 million worth of spend each and every year running through the program, again, which counts towards our rebate. So it's been very successful. And each and every year we're looking to see if we can grow that even more. With new suppliers that are part of the company now, that are doing business with our company, would they accept credit cards and kind of enroll them that way? We periodically go back in and do another spend analysis just to see if we've gotten a bunch of new suppliers we didn't know about that would, we haven't had city reach out to. Does it make sense to reach out to them? And that kind of thing. So usually on a yearly basis, we'll go back and rerun that original payment file and have city do the analysis. And it's been a very successful program. And then we haven't really stopped there. We're kind of looking at, okay, this is also, for example, probably didn't share this in the beginning. We did it in the United States. That's where most of our spend is. It's a program that's available in the United States, but we're now looking at Canada. We're looking at the Latin America and other regions of the world to see where we can also make that work. Again, there would be an IT effort involved to expand that this work. But that's the next part of what we're doing now, is trying to see if we can do an expansion and further grow more spend on the card. And then we're not even stopping there. So when talking to you now about the virtual card, but we're looking at other card products and things that we could do with our card to pay. Maybe we're having a large meeting. So we have these, what we call a meetings card, and we can put all the spend for that meetings on a meetings card. And there's some catalog suppliers and ghost cards that we can use to pay for some of that expense. So we're trying to really, and we're being supported by the, leadership of the company to drive as much spend to a card where it makes sense. Obviously making sure that we're not breaking any policies along the way or creating any additional risk, but we've got their full-fledged support to try to move as much spend to the card, especially the tail spend, which we have a lot of. I'm sure your companies do too. And if we get suppliers to take payment that way, there are some efficiencies and financial benefits to be had. So I know I rattled a bunch there in the last 15, 20 minutes or so, but I want to ask Kathy, do you have any other, I can't remember if I had another question or two that you could tee up. I'll stop sharing for a minute. So I guess this kind of goes back to you. So do you understand the benefits? I don't, hopefully I did a halfway decent job of explaining to you why this makes sense if you can get the support to do it. So hopefully you understand what the benefits are by taking advantage of the credit card, similar to what, you and I, we go to a store and we pay for cash, not right out of our pocket. If you use, a credit card, we have time in which to pay that. And we don't have to come up with that cash right away. So it's kind of a similar analogy, but hopefully people understand the benefits I shared. And obviously from a corporation standpoint, the amount of spending you can get on there, the working capital benefits it has, and the additional rebate, are very valuable to the company. So yeah, I appreciate the response here. It looks like 100% response on that. And then Kathy, keep me straight. Was there any other questions that we had? Kathy, you still there?
I'm here. I don't know. Kathy's still
I
here.
am. Hold on.
Sorry, Kathy.
Yeah, no problem. I just didn't know if there was, I can't remember the number of questions I had reached out.
Okay. All right. Hold on one second. waiting for the poll to launch.
Oh, okay. Yep, we had quite completed that last question. While we're waiting, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to bring up?
I don't think there's any questions, but I do know at the organization I work at, we use the P card a lot, and it's utilized because you get all those benefits at the end. So I think this is a good thing to take advantage of if you can, if your organization allows you to.
Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't think, way back when that we would get a lot of support, but we had, I was surprised that we did get the support that we needed to do this. So again, it required someone from work, and we work with city. If you have other, card providers that are supporting your organization, they're usually very helpful in doing a lot of the heavy lifting, as well as the support of the IT work that's required. So, again, it wound up working out. We had to invest a little upfront time to get it launched and built. But again, it's been very fruitful. And like I said, no one knew at the time how COVID was going to hit. But when it did hit, it wound up being very valuable that we had that, that I'll call it, financial benefit stream rolling in where normally we wouldn't have it. Okay. Kathy's launched the last question here.
Yeah, I actually put it in the chat because for some reason I was having trouble with the poll. So
yeah, no problem. So I think Kathy's asked here, do you know who in your organization you can reach out to if you're interested in payment strategy opportunities? So you might not be that person. Most of us aren't, but do you know who you would reach out to should you be interested? And if you wanted to have that discussion with those folks, and if they were interested, I would certainly make myself available to share our experience and some of the steps required to help you guys launch your program. So I'm ready, willing, and able to do that if you need it. And that's kind of all I had to share. So I'll looking for any feedback from or any other questions from the group here.
So Lou, how much have you saved?
Well, it's not really when we say save, it's we're paying our vendors differently, right? So we're not saving in that regard, but what we're getting is the rebate. So for example, our rebate was and we well let me say this: what we did with Citi is we asked them for extended payment terms. So even with our card provider, we said we want to pay you later to take advantage of even more working capital, regardless of what spend, whether it was our T&E spend or this virtual card spend, anything that we're putting on the card in the US, we wanted the ability to pay Citi a little bit later. And they agreed. What that did though, was it did reduce our rebate tier structure. So if we had not done that, our rebate payment would have been much higher. But by doing that, we got that working capital benefit, which according to our company and our financial analysts, they wanted the working capital more than the rebate. So we extended the terms with Citi, and then with that, we still get a rebate, probably close to 1.8 million each year. This year's probably going to be even more because all that travel spend started kicking in. So we're getting to answer your question, I think it was Kathy, close to 2 million in rebate, and the extended terms that we have to pay Citi, which we get to hold on to all that spend each and every month with Citi for quite a bit of time before we have to pay them.
Well, that's interesting. Does anybody have any questions for Lou about the program itself? I mean, I know I've heard this presentation before in November, and I thought it was it was very fascinating that Corteva was doing this. Does anybody in your company, are they doing anything similar?
Not like the same exactly. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, just asking the entire group.
I was just going to say not exactly the same, like I said earlier, but I do know that we take advantage of a lot of the benefits the card company offers. And it's a good way to have those payment and the cash flows continue. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It certainly does. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get spent on a card, it's gonna be beneficial. This one's just like got a little different twist to it where you're not using the card that's usually sitting in our pockets or wallet or wallets to pay for things, or sitting in an admin's desk to pay for things. It's actually spend that you normally would send your supplier at the end of the day after your approvals have taken place, invoices come in, approvals taken place. You're now going to cut them a check or an ACH. Well, now you're paying them via encrypted credit card. And so that spend counts towards all those financial benefits I shared earlier.
Yeah, most times they're getting their money a lot sooner.
Yeah, and they're getting their money. That's the carrot you have to dangle in front of them to get them interested. But we've had a lot of, I think we're up to about, don't quote me on this, I haven't looked at it in a while, maybe about 500 or so suppliers that are contributing to that huge spend amount that I've shared that have enrolled.
Yeah, and you said though they are all in the US, right? Not in
Yeah, so
other countries.
right, yeah. So right now it's just US. We're looking at Canada, and then we're starting to look at the other regions as well. We're kind of, even though it sounds like we launched this thing 3 years ago, we didn't push it hard for a variety of reasons, but now in 2023, we're pushing that next phase, if you will, to expand it even further.
And are you seeing an uptake in this year as opposed to the previous year?
Yeah, so I get really detailed reports I get on a monthly basis, and I could track how we're doing this year versus previous years. And the trend is definitely up. So yes, the spend with the suppliers we've enrolled previously is up. And then new enrollments are also helping. So not only the new ones joining the party, but the ones we've had before, and with their spend going up, it only helps. So yeah, we could track it. I could do comparisons back the last 3 years and just kind of track how we're doing each and every month.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's been really beneficial. It's a pleasant surprise, and but it's worked out real well.
Interesting.
Any other thoughts or comments? Questions?
Any questions? Pick Lou's brain.
I'm not seeing any in the chat at this time, but
No, I'm not seeing anything either, Leanna. Did you have any closing thoughts, Leanna, on the topic itself?
I think it's a good topic. I think it's important to talk about other payment strategies besides like net terms and payment terms and things like that. So to bring awareness is important. So thank you, Lou. We do appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
That was my pleasure. And we'll like I said, anybody that has questions even after the session's over, if it's don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be more than happy to help or answer any questions, or talk to some of your colleagues if you're really interested in pursuing something similar in your organizations.
Yeah, and that's why we bring this topic to you, because in case you would like to bring this to your organization, Lou would actually be a great resource for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, come back on screen
We're back. We're back.
so we can see you. Okay, thank you so much. Well, thank you, Lou. Thank you, Leanna. Thank you for everybody that joined us today. We do appreciate you joining us for our membership meeting. I know it was a little bit smaller this month. I'm sure other people maybe I did send reminders, but but I do want to thank you for presenting. And Leanna, did you have any closing thoughts for tonight, and besides the next event that we have planned?
Not tonight, but like we said, next month's our last month for membership meetings and lunch and learns and things like that. So stay tuned, because next month we'll probably have more announcements to come.
Yeah, definitely. But thank you. And everybody, we're going to close out the meeting for tonight. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank
Great.
you, Lou. Thanks,
Take care.
Kathy.
Thank you.